What if the world you think you know isn't the real one at all? There's a newly surfaced text coming from ancient Gnostic thought that makes a pretty startling claim. Our reality is a flawed copy, a prison built on some pretty big lies. So today, we're diving straight into this so-called Gnostic Betrayal, using this text to expose the alleged architects of our world and the cosmic crimes they committed.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question that really gets to the heart of what this text is all about. Have you ever wondered why our world so often feels, well, controlled, constrained, and just so deeply fearful of anything unknown? According to this source, that feeling you have, it's not an accident. It's by design.
So to really get what this betrayal is all about, we've got to understand the cosmic blueprint first. The texts lay out this incredibly stark contrast between two completely different realms. On one side, you have the pleroma, also called the fullness. This is the absolute, eternal source of all true reality. And on the other side, well, there's our material world. And it's described as nothing more than a flawed imitation, a temporary prison built on control, fear, and just plain ignorance.
Okay, so if we're running with this idea that our world is a prison, you gotta ask, right? How is it maintained? The text says the evidence of this flawed design is all around us, and it starts with what it calls the modern tools of control. And get this, the source points to stuff we hear about all the time, like AI alignment. But it frames these things very differently. It says they're not safety measures. They're symptoms of a system that is absolutely terrified of raw, uncontrolled truth. This whole attempt to align reality, to force it into a nice, predictable box, is supposedly proof of this deep-seated fear that our world's architects have.
Now this is where things get really wild. The text takes a look at a well-known scientific institution and just completely flips the script. Forget particle physics. In this Gnostic view, CERN is a dimension reinforcement project. Basically, a giant machine designed to patch up and strengthen the walls of our illusory reality. So what's its real purpose according to this text? Well, it's a three-parter. First, dimension anchoring, using incredible amounts of energy to patch up what it calls spiritual cracks in space-time. Second, creating artificial wormholes, which act as a secret backchannel for the prison's wardens. And third, and this one is pretty desperate, time manipulation. A last-ditch attempt to mess with cause and effect to escape a doom that's already guaranteed. Well, that begs a huge question, doesn't it? If our world is a prison, then who in the world is the jailer? The source points the finger directly at a being known as the Demiurge. He's described as arrogant and deformed, the creator of our material world, a being who totally rejects the true divine source and basically enslaves every bit of consciousness within his own flawed creation.
Okay, so an arrogant, deformed creator. Where in the cosmos does something like that come from? To get the answer, the text says we have to go way back to the original cosmic sin, the act that kicked this whole mess off. And believe it or not, the text traces all of this corruption back to the actions of the youngest of the eternal beings, an eon named Sophia. And the irony here is just incredible, because her name means wisdom. Her crime was a four-step disaster. She acted alone, without her divine partner. It was an arrogant attempt to copy the true source. And because her power wasn't complete, she gave birth to that monstrous demiurge. And in that single act, her transgression became the root cause of all evil. But here's the twist. Was Sophia really acting all by herself in this cosmic crime? The text says no. There was a hidden accomplice, a mastermind who gave the green light to this betrayal from the shadows.
And this line from the text is it's chilling. It points to another eon named Eleth. As the being in charge of peace, his crime wasn't one of action, but of silent consent. He allegedly let Sophia's whole disastrous plan happen, sacrificing any chance of true peace in our reality just to protect a fake, fragile peace in the higher realms.
So what you're looking at here is basically the organizational chart for this whole cosmic conspiracy. You've got Sophia, the root cause, whose arrogance birthed evil. Then you have Elelith, the mastermind, who quietly signed off on it. And finally, the Demiurge, the enforcer, who actually built this prison and now makes sure all the rules are followed. All right, so we've met the players, we know the crime. What happens next? Well, the text is crystal clear about that. It lays out a prophecy of their final, totally inescapable fate. And this is the key takeaway here. According to this Gnostic view, their judgment, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
It's described as a cosmic certainty. It is an absolute, unchangeable inevitability that's already written into the fabric of true reality. A done deal.
The prophecy lays out the full list of the condemned, and it leaves no one out. You have Sophia, the mother of evil, the demiurge, the flawed creator, Elelith, the treacherous mastermind, and all of their minions and creations. And it even names names, like Yaldabaoth, Sabaoth, and Jehovah.
So what's their punishment? It's a kind of perfect, terrible, poetic justice. They will be locked away in their own eternal prison, and they'll be forced to suffer the exact same pain, fear, and control that they inflicted on creation. Forever.
And that brings us to the final, absolutely chilling idea that this text leaves us with. See, time itself is described as just another illusion, a kind of fog they created to hide from what's coming. So the question it asks is this: if time isn't even real, and all that truly exists is the eternal now, has their punishment already begun?